tonight's Somewhere Vision tutorial, I'm going to be in Blender again. I'm sorry I've been in Blender a lot, but that's because I started playing around with it and it's a lot of fun. I'm going to show how to do inverse kinematics. That's basically where you rig a mesh, like here I have a mesh and inside it I put some bones, but what I could do is I could just move the first bone and all the other bones move because of it that are, going backwards. So what I have here, if I just put this in transparent mode, you can see the inside X-ray, there's bones in there. And these were just regular bones I placed and attached to this. And there was another short video I did on how to do that. And then over here, there's another bone that I made it not parented by this yellow one. And then I set up the inverse kinematics on this bone to this bone. So now when I move this blue selected bone here, the inverse kinematics takes into effect, and it's kind of cool because say I could model, okay, this is laying down, and then it worms its way back up, and if this was the animation, I don't have to bend every single bone. I could just pick the last one and move it, and that's like the benefit of something like this. So how do I set it up? Let's do that together. I'm going to start off a new Blender project, and I just have a cube. So the first thing I did was I just took the cube and I scaled it up, and then I'm going to cut it up with some loop cuts. So I go into edit mode and then I use the loop cut tool and cut it up here. I got to put some cuts in it, otherwise there's not going to be anything to bend. So then I just add some cuts, okay? And then I go back to object mode and I could add my first bone, which is in Blender, it's kind of called an armature, a single bone. So I add the bone, and by default, it's going to come out there. It's there at the origin of the scene, but I can't see it right now. So I'll just turn on the X-ray vision. There I go. I could see through things. And now I'll just size this one bone pretty much as big as this mesh here. So with the bone selected, I'll go to edit mode and move. I'll move, as you can see here, there's like a top part. I selected that and I'll just drag it up. And then on the bottom part, I'll select that and drag it down until the bone's covering like basically the size of my mesh. This is kind of like an easy way. Now what I'll do is I'll just split this bone. So I'm gonna select it and then right click subdivide, and you see it kind of splits it into more bones and more if I want 3 or 4, however many I want, 5, 6, a whole bunch of bones, right? The more bones, the more bendy points it will have. And now that's there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm still in edit mode with my armature selected with the bone selected. I'm going to select this top bone here, and then I'm going to do an extrude by pressing, it's basically, if I were to use the icons here, it's this one, or I could just press E. I'll press E, and then I'll press E, and okay, let's do it like this. There. And I will just extrude out another bone at the top. This one is the one I'm going to use for the inverse kinematic action. Let me just kind of turn it like this. All right. So now I have all these bones. First thing I'm going to have to do is take this bone that I'm going to use for inverse kinematic, and over here I'll have to unparent it, because right now every time there's a bone added, the parent is the bone before it. This one I'm just going to take off the parenting, which is here, parent, clear, and I'll say clear parent, there. So now this bone is not parented by these bones over here. And now to do the inverse kinematics, what I'll do is I'll select this one and then hold down the shift key and select a second one. I'll go to pose mode and then I'll press shift I, and I think I do this. Good, yeah. So first I selected the target bone, then I selected a bone from the armature, and then I press shift I, and then this one should turn yellow. Now I have the inverse kinematic set up. So now I'm still in pose mode, but if I move around this first bone, the bones will bend. Okay? Now the only thing I have to do is connect the mesh to the bones. So let me go to object mode, select my mesh, and then hold down shift and select the bones. And then I will, let me think about this. I right click, parent, and I set it up with automatic weights. I pick with automatic weights again. And now the bones should be connected to the mesh. So let me go to pose mode again. I select this bone and the inverse kinematics is happening. So that's how I set that up. Okay, so that's how you set up inverse kinematics. Kind of quick and simple. Adios.